Hi friends, welcome to the ZiaWoolz StudioBuzz podcast episode 27, coming to you from chilly Albuquerque. We've had snow and it's blowing like crazy. The cold has been creeping in through all the cracks by the windows, and I really do, because first thing I did, I was going for my woolies, and yeah, getting out the boots, putting on warm socks. All I've been knitting this year in terms of socks are the shorties mainly. Well, actually one higher pair, but that's the pair that I grabbed this morning so my legs would be warmer. But yeah, we love it. We love it. Yes, where to start? Thank you always for all the comments that I got after my last video. And by the way, my name is Doug, and I'm the dyer behind ZiaWoolz, as probably 99.9% of you all know. Like I said, thank you for the comments. I always so much enjoy reading what you have to say, and it always brings me so much joy. And yeah, I love interacting with you, even though it sometimes takes me a few days to get back to you, especially the last time when I was, after the last episode, I was really kind of trying to focus on the studio tour, which was an event happening just 2 days ago here in my house. It's a neighborhood event where artists who would like to participate open their home and their studios for interested friends and other visitors to shop or to look at the workspace, to see what people are making. And I've been doing this, I hadn't really realized that, for 10 years, every year for the past 10 years. So that was kind of exciting. I really enjoy that, and so especially this year, I have to say, because now, after the years, with all the years in the past, that this has grown into something where my makings have changed, but also where I have met so many people who have come back over the years that I am always excited to see. And now that I've been dyeing more yarn, I also get more of my yarny friends who stop by, which I like. And I always encourage people to stop by, even if they do not plan to purchase yarn, if they just want to hang out for a little bit and chat, have a cookie, have hot cider. I just always love seeing people, seeing my friends, and make it crazy busy at times, which it did also this Saturday, where I cannot really spend as much time with everybody as I would like, but I still totally enjoy it. Yeah, this year was kind of special because, as in the years before, I had my friend Laura with her rug hooking be a part of it, and also my friend Kathy, who's also a very good friend of mine, whom I don't call a friend anymore because she's my sister from another mother. And so both of them came with rug hooking and with beautiful pieces, but also my friend Melody, whom I had first met a few weeks ago before the Isabel Kramer retreat, and who then participated in the retreat. So Melody drove up all the way from Clovis, yes, 3.5 hours. And she came early because she wanted to help me set up the yarns and set up for the show, which was so incredibly helpful, because it's just once you've, I mean, you do your stuff the last weeks before the show, but then when it really gets close, you have to bring all the stuff into the house, and then you really have to sort the yarn and see where everything goes. You got to set up and do still last minute tagging. All these things need to be done, and they take time, and I am not the most organized person in the world, and so you know, when I have help, it's very much appreciated. So Melody was a great helper, and I thank her for that. I know she's watching, so thank you again. But also I was so lucky that she brought her beautiful pattern keepers to offer for sale, and also she brought some of her, I mean, she doesn't normally make those for sale. She sells the pattern for her Mimi Notions bag. That's what she calls it. And but for the studio tour, she actually sewed some and offered them for sale, which, I mean, if you got one, you're lucky, because I want to show you mine. Again, I know I've done it before, but she may put the very last one that's still there in her Etsy shop, Melodies Designs, and that's why I thought I'd just show mine. She was so sweet and gifted me another one. So, sorry about the crinkling. So I could have, you know, one. I already own one, which is in one bag, and so, when I put my knitting away, I can have the pattern caper in the bag with a project also to go, of course, that if I go somewhere else. But the other thing which I really love so much is the Mimi Notions pouch, and I've shown it before. I show it again so you get the idea now that it's fully loaded. It's right now still in fingerless mitts mode. That's why all the different sizes of DPNs are in here, with safety pins that I use to hold the thumb stitches, and on the inside I have a lot of stuff that's in there all the time, like a tape measure, scissors, sewing needles, hand cream, stitch markers, all kinds of stuff. So like I said, she may have one in her Etsy shop. I hope I'm not promising too much. Yes, Melodies Designs. So that was the studio tour, which leads me to this funky setup behind me. I thought that would be kind of neat that you guys get to see the yarns. This is one part of the display. I'm going to put some pictures at the end, as I usually do, so you can see a little bit more of how it looked like here on Saturday. There's more yarn on the other side, but this is where I've recorded in the past in front of my fireplace. That's where I put the grid walls with part of the yarn. So where was I going to go with this? Yes, studio tour makings, which was really the last week. That was my focus, really, to finish fingerless mitts. I told you that before. I was going to be offering yarn, ZiaWoolz, but also for the people who are not makers, but would just like to stop by to shop for Christmas, I love to offer the fingerless mitts. And also the other thing is project bags and pencil bags, which are, the pencil bags are still kind of from years ago when the kids were younger and I offered, the cat's here, that's why I'm looking down. And I made bags, the pencil pouches for my kids, and I thought it would be a neat thing if the kids' friends, families stop by to have something that's a nice stocking stuffer, Christmas present. So the fingerless mitts, so I wanted to tell you, I still had 9 pairs that I had left from 2017. And this season, this year before the studio tour, I made 23 more pairs. When I took out the old, I call them old, they're not old. I mean, when I took out the pairs that were left from last year to set up and lay them all out on Friday, I found a pair where I thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe that these are not sold last year. And I decided if they're still here after this year, they're going to be mine because they're very much my colors, and you won't be surprised. You may have even seen that because I put it up on Ravelry and Instagram. My daughter took some fun pictures of me, silly ones of course, with these. I made these with Handspun, as you may guess, because there's no commercial yarn that looks like this. And that's why we all love Handspun yarn so much. So I'm not going to go into detail about the fingerless mitts. I said the same thing last week, last time I recorded the podcast, and then I showed them all individually this week. I won't do it, but I need to tell you something that I have also been working on, and which kind of counts as a whip other than the 23 pairs that I have finished. I have indeed written up the pattern for these mitts. They have a name. They're called Duke City mitts because, as I have most likely mentioned before, the Duke City, Albuquerque, Albuquerque is also referred to as Duke City. It's just, for me, my happy place where things have come together for me personally and my makings, and that's why I thought this is going to be the perfect name where I honor the place that I love, but also it's honoring all the friends that I have made in the past and through this wonderful craft of ours through knitting. So yeah, I'm having a little blurb about that in the pattern. So the pattern will be published for free. It's going to be my gift to the community. I mean, it's not anything really exciting, crazy, where you're going to be like, wow, she gives this one to us. No, it's not. It's just a simple fingerless mitt, and I love making them, and I hope you will enjoy making them as well. I have written up the pattern for different needle sizes so you can see which yarn you want to use. I have encountered one problem when I was writing it up because my gauge is just so incredibly different as everybody else's gauge because I'm a very, very tight knitter. So everybody who tested the pattern had to go down a needle size compared to me. I'm still not 100% decided on what I'm going to do with the pattern, how I'm going to write it. I have taken beautiful pictures with my daughter and a friend of hers, so that's ready to go into the pattern. But the gauge is otherwise the last thing that I'm missing, and I have to just think a little bit on that. And I feel like I want to give the gauge that I have, but then again, everybody else's gauge was so different. Like, people would knit the same mitts like these with holding a worsted with a fine mohair, and they would just have to go with my needle. Comparing to my gauge and my stitch count, they would have to go down a needle size. So I really don't know. These are the two, by the way, that I have made with my own yarn. This is ZiaWoolz Duke held with a matching color Kid Silk Haze by Rowan, and these are made with 2 strands of ZiaWoolz Sugarloaf held together, where I did put a little bit of a spin to the pattern in the cuff, and I would encourage you to do the same, because this is how the pattern is written, with just one garter ridge on the cuff. And here are my stacks. One. I need to find space where I put them to get room in front of me. That's another one. And here's the 3rd stack, so that's what I still have left, which I never mind having. I'm going to have one more event where I show yarn and things like the fingerless mitts. It's at my friend Suzanne's fabric store, Hip Stitch, here in town, and that's going to happen in December, and I'll bring these, and I'm sure I'm going to sell a few more pairs. And if I don't sell out, which I don't expect, by the way, I will have these for the 11th studio tour in 2019. Thank you, of course, if you are local and you stop by at the studio. I appreciate you coming, taking the time to stop by. And of course, also thank you to all of you who support my business and shop ZiaWoolz yarns. Thank you. So the studio tour, the mitts, that is that. What else? I've named this episode, or I will name it once it's up or loading up, the basket of doom is back, because I feel like, oh yeah, I was kind of like, you know what happened in the past weeks. I've said, well, I've narrowed down my whips, I've finished so many things, and then I said, well, it's not really that necessary, because when I travel, I don't know what to grab, and I don't have many choices in what I do. So I kind of mentally encouraged myself to cast on more than is really good for me. So there's an ever-growing pile of whips next to me, some for a good reason, others for maybe just the pure wish to cast on something. You know how that goes. So one of the things that I have not touched is my Isabel Kramer, the Yumi sweater, because of the mitts and because of things that I had to do. But just a quick glance at it, because I was thinking I'm going to work my way through the basket which is sitting right here next to me, spilling over, and that way you get an idea of what's going on, what madness is happening in this house. Here's the Yumi. You've all seen it in the past, waiting patiently in the Coffee Diva bag, one of my favorite ones. And I have, even though I don't really need a tag for this one, just in case I haven't touched it in a while, I put my tag on the outside that says what's in it. But the reason why I usually know what's in here is that the color of the yarn matches the bag. And more about this another time when I get back to it. I had to start the socks with the yarn that I purchased in Las Vegas. Now, this is a case of lost ball band. Or did I stuff it in here? Wow, I never use my ball bands. That's odd. It lives in a ZiaWoolz project bag. I love this Christmas fabric so much. Southwest cacti, so cool. And I had shown the yarn in the last episode. I found it at Sin City, at the Sin City yarn shop in Las Vegas. I hope you can see this. I feel I'm sitting so far away this time. So I'm gonna try to reach over so you don't miss out on seeing these cool yarns. So this was one of my, I've finished socks. You always allow yourself to cast on a new pair. So that was this one. But then for a special reason, when I needed a small project, I wanted to do something with my own yarn again. And I grabbed a skein, which was in my to knit up bin because I was just curious to see how that colorway would knit up. And I dyed it last year. It was called Prom. And it lives in this bag. Wonder Woman one. And I really like it. It has a bunch of neon colors. It's the ZiaWoolz Sandia base, which is my merino nylon blend. It's a little heftier than some of the merino nylons that you get from hand dyers, which I like. It gives you a heavier sock. And again, I am not far in, but far enough for you to see how pretty it knits up. So, by the way, Oma is coming in just tonight. So there will hopefully be a lot of nice and calm knitting time coming up where we just sit and chat, the two of us. And I believe that this is my third sock project. Yes. German yarn, I can totally recommend it. Check it out. I bet she would ship to America. Now that Baron Wolle doesn't dye anymore, if you want your German yarn fix, I love this yarn. and it was very affordable, so I am sure, whoops, there went the yarn ball. Sorry. There it is. Very cool. This actually inspired me to try out a new dyeing technique, more like a painted style, which I don't do much because I can't repeat this, but I've dyed a few skeins and I actually will show you some later because they're gonna go in the shop soon and I really like how they are and they're gonna make some really fun socks. So those were my 3 sock projects. I did also dye some very special yarn for a very special person who made me super happy in September around my birthday, because this person who is my daughter's boyfriend. So now listen to this. This kid who is very involved in his studies there. I mean, he's smart. He's like, this is hard stuff what he does there. But he took the time out of his day to go to track down a yarn store, to go to the yarn store, to tell them about me and get help to pick yarn for me as a birthday gift, and to find, I mean, he showed them my Instagram feed, so to get help in what colors to get for me. I mean, he deserves all the knitwear and he's in Michigan, so it's cold where he is. So, and at this, I mean, I put it with the new yarns, but since I'm talking about it, I thought I'd show it to you. Yep, that's very, very, very much me and my colors, which he got. Does it say? Well, the yarn dyers are called Hawaii Bazaar, and it's a sock set. Yeah, Hawaii Bazaar. I never heard of them, but I think they're really connected to that yarn store, and I think it's dyed after one of their dogs, and this one is called Miss Stella. And with a matching mini skein. How cool is that? Right? Fiona, he's a keeper. So, well, he goes to the University of Michigan, so I had to dye some yarn in the colors of the university, and I thought I'm gonna make him a pair of socks and I'm gonna make him a hat. The hat, I dyed up my Duke base for that, which is the worsted weight yarn, and check it out. It's so obnoxious, in your face. I hope he's gonna wear it. Even though it's so not really his style, but it's the university colors, yellow and blue, and I'm just making this up. I have about, I think, 16 rounds of ribbing. I started this with 128 stitches on 3.5 millimeter needles, and I'm making a 1x1 rib where I twist the knit stitch which makes it so nicely. Yeah, gives it a very nice texture. And then I switched to 4mm needles, and I'm going to keep going up. I haven't quite decided on how I will do the crown of the hat. I don't think he's the kind of slouchy kind of kid, but I'm going to make it a little bit longer so he can definitely cover his ears, not really to fold over the brim, but also try to make a fitted crown here. I'll see how that goes. Probably like have 6 decreases and kind of slowly work that together. That's the Michigan hat. And the yarn for the socks is also ready to go. I rarely do painted colorways, only what I said, what I'm going to show you later, and this, because I mean, I did not see how I could dye this and not get a lot of green, so I painted the yellow and the blue on there, and still I have some tiny green spots, but in the hat overall it reads as yellow and blue, and I think that's probably going to go for the socks as well. This is my Sandia base. Okay, back to the basket of doom, because these are not even in a bag. They've just been sitting here on my table. Oh yes, with another. I should have started with this. I did plan to tell you first about this. It is the basket of the mittens, where I started a pair, and I had shown you this yarn because it's an 80% cashmere, super duper soft. It was just a mini skein, and someone looked the company Fiesta Yarns up, and it seems that they are, I mean, they're local, or they were local, because it seems that they went out of business, sadly. Not so sure why. But this is a handspun that will go into this pair and is combined with that cashmere blend. But these are going to be a gift for a local friend. And then after that, I really want to make the very last pair of the season with this beautiful handspun. This is spun from local fibers, which I had sourced from the largest New Mexican sheep farm. It's east, close to, yeah, Klein's Corner, and it's Perez Farm, who they have, I don't even know if they have any other sheep than Rambouillet. And this fiber, so I got a lot of fibers from her. I think it was 2 years ago. Went to the farm, saw the beautiful setting, met the owner, who is just the nicest lady you can imagine. She's already in her 70s and still running this sheep farm. So cool. And so this is some fiber from her, which I dyed and spun. And what I like about it, even though the Rambouillet is very similar to merino, very fine, but this, with the way it's just not overly processed. It was done by Zeilingers, whom I really love in Michigan, like an old and very, very knowledgeable fiber mill. They've just been doing this forever. And that's who I sent this to, because I wanted it to be done just very, very well, so it wouldn't be ruined. And so I still got a lot of that fiber ready to be dyed up, more than I can do in, well, it's probably going to take me another 1 or 2 years. If you are in the market for fiber to dye it yourself, I have this always listed in the shop, and I never finished what I wanted to tell you actually why I like this so much. It is a very, very bouncy yarn. It has, the fibers have a lot of crimp, and that's what they managed to preserve when it was processed into spinning, I usually say roving, but it's spinning top. And this is the purple and the dark blue and the greens, which is just a super beautiful match. I dyed the fiber and then I spun it into a 2-ply yarn. The last pair of fingerless mitts of the season will happen with this. So, but now really back to the basket of doom. Let's see what's in here. Oh, yes. No hint on what's on the inside from the outside. This is what I started for Mom, and since the fingerless mitts took over my life, I abandoned this. The shawl from Mom, and it's called Sun Showers by Boo Knits. I had to look that up. And it is, I'm knitting lace. Wow. I did get my Haya sharps, which I ordered on Etsy. And I really like it so far. I mean, I've managed to get this far. Look, it's like already kind of like a bandana size. We'll see when I get it done. I am still on I have 4 skeins of this and I'm still on the first one, even though it shrunk a bit. Ooh. The yarn, I'm not sure if it's still available. It's called Zephyr, colorway Deep Purple, from A Touch of Twist in New York State. And I got this over 11 years ago from Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. So, goodness, I have all these things where I say, I have to finish this. I have to make this right now. And it takes over and takes priority. And then I don't get the other stuff done. Yes. So this is, by the way, the pattern keeper that's with this. Okay, what's next? Oh yes, this was another thing that took over. I watched my fellow dyer, Anne, who's really a sweet woman who dyes absolutely gorgeous yarns, Woolly Wonka fibers. Is she called Woolly Wonka fibers? I have to look that up for you. But Anne also, I saw on her, I watched her podcast, and I saw on the last one that she was knitting socks for an orphanage in Russia, Kazakhstan, where it's like so super duper cold. She is working in conjunction with a group on Ravelry, which is called, up. Now I can't find it. Oh yes, mittens for a coal, but I'll put it on the screen. And these, and so I thought, I just love that. I probably just like you, this is the time of the year where we all think of, you know, what we have and how we can share. And so this was really a good thing to find out about, and I decided I want to participate. I told my mom already about it, and she also is making socks for kids, and I cast on a pair, which is not in here, so it's got to be in another bag, but I already pulled out some other yarns. These are opal hand-dyed sock yarns, which I thought are beautiful, bright colors that I want to knit up for a pair of kids socks as well as these. So I put these in one of my daughter's old toy bags, so I would know, hey, here's the stuff for the kids. So I got that yarn in here, and I put in another ball of yarn, which is, I finally got the yarn for the hat that I've been talking about for the past weeks. For this beauty, I have dyed up a custom and one-of-a-kind colorway, which I dyed 2 batches of in a base which I love very much, which is my Chama base, which is a 100% superwash. I should know that from the top of my head, but I have handled too much yarn this morning. No, never too much yarn. So this is an 8-ply cabled sport weight yarn. A fine sport weight. I just love this because it will be a great yarn which will give great stitch definition. And I am ready to go. Always until the next episode, at least one step closer to finally casting on. Oh. I showed you this. That was another pair of kids socks, didn't I? It's probably, 2015. I'm sure this is gonna give another fun pattern for a kid, for a pair of socks. So back in here, and the hat yarn I will keep out, and it will get its own bag. But then I wanted to show you the socks that I have started, the kids socks. German sock yarn again, Alana Grossa. I usually, because I don't use this too often, because now I'm into the hand dyes, what I usually do is I buy these when they're on sale at my yarn store in Germany, in Alzenau, and then they just have this mark, and they just, whenever they get new colors in, I guess they discontinue the old ones. Look at that, isn't that cute? I love how it patterns. Another one of Fiona's old toy bags. And this is so old that it still has my, that was one of my very old labels. I used to be sheep on a spring until people started butchering it. It's a long story why it was called that way. Well, I can mention it. This is going to be a long episode anyways. So I kind of collect sheep. I mean, I'm not like going out and searching for sheep to decorate my studio with, but I just like sheep, and when I come upon one, I get it. But a dear friend of mine, Amy in Virginia, who actually introduced me to rug hooking, that friend of mine gave me my most favorite sheep. By now, my collection has grown so much that I have some other really very, very cool ones. But this is really still, to this day, one of my favorites. And it's kind of like an object of art, and it sits on this rusty bed spring. This sheep, a three-dimensional sheep made by some artist. And so I remember, I wasn't sure initially when she gifted me this, if it was if it had a purpose with it sitting on the spring. And so I think I said, so what is this? And she said, it's a sheep on a spring. So this kind of stuck, and that's when I thought about my very, very old business, how to name it. I thought, sheep on a spring. That's my favorite, and I love sheep. But then I had to give that name up because it's really not very, well, people would call it sheep on a string too. They heard string, so I thought it's time. When I was in New Mexico, I thought it's time to change that. But I still love that I have a few items or a few bags with the old labels. So that was a long story, right? About just one itty bitty bag. Yeah. It's also a size that I don't really make anymore. And before I did my handles on my bags with the velvet, how I do it now, I would use beautiful decorated ribbon. Okay, that was the kids. Now let's see what's next. I have no idea what's in here. This is so heavy. And it's in another beautiful bag that I got from my friend Debbie of the Periscoping Sisters. Love this bag. So let's see. Oh, wait a minute. I think I know. It may be my Amory. No, it's not. It's the item in Time Out. My Lemmy K Mash-Up Retreat Shawl, soon to be modern culture cardigan, possibly. Okay, let's close it up very fast. I've talked about this before. You probably remembered this while I didn't. I think this could be the Amory, and it's highly likely because it has a little zipper pull with my Amory yarn, unless I switched stuff up. One of my bags, you've seen it, and this baby has not grown a single bit, but at least I have knitted up one ball of yarn, as I told you before. Dear Amory, don't take it personally. It's gonna take me a while to finish you. Now, what is next? Sweater size bag, and I do know what's in here because Melody took a peek and she loved the yarn. I don't even think I ever showed you this before. I have purchased this to make a sweater for my son. I got it in Germany. It is Lana Grossa Landlust. And while he says he'd be fine with stripes, I feel like I might get insanely bored, and I have already gone through my pattern books and I have marked them with Lewis ? Because I've looked at a bunch of patterned, stitch patterns where I thought they might work. It's all going to be textured. It's for sure going to be textured. The only thing that I am a little bit uncertain about is that I do want to work the neck with short rows to have it higher in the back for warmth, of course. And so I have to take another look at those stitch patterns to see what works, because I will alternate the colors. So I have to find one that goes back and forth before you switch to the next color, and even that might not work. This needs still some brain power, which, as you may guess, because I have all these other things going, I don't have the brain power for this sweater right now, but I hope I'll be getting to it soon, because poor kid has never gotten a sweater, while my daughter, I made her one, I believe it was 2 years ago, in the colorway that everybody loves so much, which I designed for her sweater. It's called Nightfall. It's a very dark blue, and I believe I sold all of it at the studio tour. Yes, I think I did. But yeah, that was her sweater, but now it's his turn. And I had to make sure I get a yarn that's very washable, and that's why I thought I'm gonna go commercial. Okay, in this bag is the Hitofude, which I had told you that I will frog because it hasn't gotten any love in too long, and that tells me that I'm not loving it enough, and it's just a personal thing. It's just not really, really right for me. So I will abandon this as soon as I have the brain power again. I have a random bag of yarn in here, which has no business to be in here. And, oh, this is an interesting one. I know what's in here because, again, I made a zipper bone. One of my bags I made this specifically for myself, inspired by Debbie's bag that you saw before, and I bought at Hip Stitch at my friend's quilt store. I bought a charm pack which had this sheep on the top in the stack, but that was the only sheep in the whole bag, in the whole stack of charms, fabric charms. So it had to be in the middle of this bag, and if I recall correctly, some of these fabrics may have come from Pearl Soho, and I think it could be this, especially could be one of them. I think these were all from the same charm pack. Color matching. Oh, yeah, I'm talking about the bag and not showing you the content. So you may recall from a few months ago that I made that was probably half a year ago, that I made this hat. I used a ZiaWoolz yarn and the black yarn together. The black is not mine, it's just a yarn that's constructed similarly, kind of like an I-cord construction. Very soft. I wanted to add this to my yarns, but then the quality was off. It had these weird joins in the middle of the skein that would not take the dye, and that annoyed the heck out of me. I mean, annoyed the heck out of me. I myself, I just cut it and take it out and weave in my ends, but it's not something that I want my customers to deal with. So this was, even though I ordered 10 skeins or so, they never made it into the shop. But because the yarn is so soft, I loved knitting it up for hats. And this was the first one that I made, which is just a tiny bit too small for me. And the other one is a tiny bit too big for me. But let me put it on, even though I look mortally ill. I'm trying to see where the cast on spot is, because I tried to put that in the back, but I just don't like myself in black. Okay, you'll see why I look ill, whereas these colors, I look happy and healthy, right? So this is the big version, kind of slouchy. So I made the pattern up, and this is also something that I would very much like to put into a pattern and publish it. I need to find a way to add more hours to my day. If you know how I can make that work, tell me. No, it will happen, because I do like designing, and I like to come up with my own patterns, which reminds me of this cardigan, which I designed for this specific sweater quantity of Handspun. It was a top down with this big collar, and but this one I'm not gonna write up as a pattern. This I would love to write up the hat, and I have purchased one skein of yarn, which I thought I may use, because I can't use my yarn because it was never in the shop. But this is a similar yarn, and it's very, very soft, and it would be beautiful to be used in a hat. Beautiful, and also very soft, and it has that same construction like an I-cord, made from a very, very fine, very soft yarn. It's Mirasol. I feel like this is alpaca. Oh yes, it has alpaca in it. It's a 60% wool and 40% alpaca content. So cozy. I wish you could touch this. Not decided on what I will use with it, but I will. Oh yeah, I do have more of my chain construction yarn, so I'll see. I also still have leftovers from the 2 hats, so I could do that, because this will go in the brim of the hat, of course. It's my color, and then I can pretty much put anything and combine here. It has 2 colors, whereas here the color in the brim dominates only here, but later I still carry it up here, but due to the slip stitches, it's in the background and you can barely see that it's there. I did it the other way around on the other hat. The brown is in the brim but the brown is also dominant up here, and the which is, by the way, the dancing dog colorway. That's the one in the background. Okay, back in the bag you go until it's your turn. Here is, oh my gosh. Always so surprised about what's in here. Okay, here's, oh, I should show you this. You've seen this before. My one finished sock and enough yarn to make another sock and an unfinished pattern that needs to be written up. Another one. And in this bag, again, the zipper pull gave it away. Favorite fabric, and combined with some vintage fabric on the back. And in here is my beautiful, beautiful zigzag shawl. Or that's as far as I got. Not that I don't like it. It will get done eventually. I have already made two of this. One was for my mom and one for myself. Mom's was with very heavy in the purples. My other one very heavy in the greens and the light blue. And the pattern was from an older German magazine, but I mean, anybody can make theirs up. And the yarns, I mean, it's just a zigzag stitch. And the yarns I'm using for this are just fabulous. Lana Grossa, all of them purchased in Germany. And this is a merino lace, Lana Grossa. And this is a silk hair merino, also variegated. And the reason why I love these so much is because they very randomly change color. Not like, I feel there is a kid silk case stripe which in regular intervals changes color. This is very different, and it makes it a very fun project because you can always be excited about what's going to be next. I carry this around as a copy. I don't even have it as a color copy. It's just this teensy weensy picture. I think I got this at the yarn store when I purchased the yarn. So we're almost done. Oh my goodness, this horrible hat. I call it horrible. It's not horrible. You remember this? It used to be in a basket, and then I switched it into the Ziploc, so to give it some extra protection. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, another one that I designed, but I had gotten yarn from the yarn store at Nob Hill, and I said I was gonna come up with something, and I really like the yarn. It's a summer yarn. You really can wear this here in the summer, and I wanted to have a waterfall neck in the front. So here's what it is. Front and back. This is the back, obviously. So here's what went wrong with this. It is a boxy shape. It's kind of short and wide, but this is way too big. So it went into the basket of doom because I would like to re-knit the upper part and take away, probably go up higher here. So it's still, so it keeps the length, but then I need to, oh my goodness, look how much I would have to take off. Probably 4 or 5 inches to make it a fitted sleeve here. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought it would look good, but it does not look good when you put this on. It looks just humongous and ill-fitted. We're almost there. One more thing that you may remember. Remember this. Lana Grossa Seta with another slight fail, a neckline that's too big. So it needs to be, I need to just take out the cast off row and pick up the stitches again and then add with my new ball of yarn. I'm thinking I'm probably going to make it just double the width that I have now. And then it should be great. Oh, yes. And I wanted to add a ribbing on the sleeves as well. I just ran out of yarn because of the construction. See that? And then I do have another button, and that should not be a problem. It's just something that needs to be done. Okay, so I have one more thing that I wanted to show you, that it's a sweater that I pulled out because I was thinking about sending it to Russia, but then I changed my mind. Let me show it to you. It's right here. Gotta reach over, and this is it. I can't recall now if I showed you this before, because I definitely talked about the company where the fiber comes from, because I was hoping that they're still at Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, and I did find them there again this year in May, and it's the Barefoot Spinner. That's where this fiber comes from. And I'm very certain that it has alpaca in it, or maybe even Angora, because can you see that halo? This is really too warm for New Mexico. Fiona, my daughter, she loved the sweater, but she also never wore it. I mean, it fits her great. I actually took a few pictures yesterday with me wearing it and the fingerless mitts because it was really cold. But I'm kind of glad that I did, because now I have those pictures. But here's the plan. So I looked at this again, and I love the yarn so much, and all of a sudden I had this fabulous idea. I will from this. You're gonna say, well, what does that do you? It is a 2-ply yarn. You get where this is going. I will unspin the plies, and then I will see how one single ply looks like, if it has enough twist or not. If it doesn't have enough twist, I'm gonna give it a little more, and I will use this as a singles yarn, and this would be so fantastic as a series, because the series cardigan was something that I thought about, that I've been wanting to make. I wanted to use that alpaca yarn that you saw in one of my bags, that gray stuff, where I didn't have the yardage. This, then definitely, I mean, it's this fat sweater, so it will give me the yardage. I mean, because it's even going to be twice as much, even though I have these crochet elements, which are just going to be bits and pieces and kind of more for emergency if I run out of yarn after all, but I'm not going to work with these right away. But it's exactly what I was hoping for, because I wanted to have a fuzzy yarn with a bit of a halo. That's what this is going to do. So excited about this idea. And now that Mom's coming in tonight, so we always sit and do stuff like this together, or I can tell her, even if I have to do something and I'm out of the house, I can tell her, can you give this a try? Can you try to open the seams, get that going? And yeah, it's going to be great. Yep, I think I'm going to get to this soon. Maybe not. You know me, I have all these grand ideas, but who knows what's going to happen. Oh, the sweater, by the way, this pattern was in an old German knitting magazine, either the Rebecca or the Verena. Now I'm not sure. Those I bought religiously for years. Now I'm not so much anymore. That's another project. And I think I have told you everything. My goodness, this is such a long episode. But here is, I showed you stash. Oh yes, I do have a new stash. We need to do 3 more things. You need to see my new stash, what I purchased. You need to see what's in the shop, and I need to tell you about the shop news, and we need to do the giveaway. Oh my goodness. So hang in there, we're gonna get there. I recently went to my friend Amore's, another indie dyer slash yarn producer locally. I've talked about her before, who moved into a new studio, and she does a lot with, I mentioned that before too, she produced with Alyssa Latucci the Brim collection, the hat collection, and they also have a special line of yarns for that. Well, if you're local, go to Las Vegas, go to Santa Fe and visit the shop. It's really beautiful. But I went there for the grand opening, and I came home with these 2 beauties. They're both one of a kind, dyed by Amore. Oh, I love them so much. I went there with my friends Therese and Lauren, and oh my gosh, we had so much fun. We hung out with Amore and Alyssa and chatted away and spent a good part of the afternoon, which was so much fun. Loved it. Okay, that's that. Shop news. I'm back. I had some technical problems, but now I'm back. I need to wrap this up fast because the light is fading. I Wanted to say something about what's happening in the shop. So in the next week, I will be adding a little bit of stock into the online shop bit by bit. And here are 3 of the yarns that I brought to show you that will go in. They're all one-of-a-kinds, which should be super fun. I mentioned those earlier today. So not possible to repeat these, just fun colorways, bright, and possibly 2 very different socks. That's my Sandia sock yarn. So that's in the shop, as well as everyone's favorite Coffee Diva bags. One has a dark handle and 2 have the teal handles. The handles lined with velvet, as I always do. Heavy duty zippers, and on the back a different coffee theme fabric, and as well as a flannel on the inside with my logo. And so that's shop. The shop will then be closed until the beginning of December, when I'm done with the event at my friend's fabric store at Hip Stitch. And that is the shop news. Just stop by, you'll see what I'm adding. It depends a little bit on my time, since Mom is coming in and I don't know what we're gonna have to do this coming week. Of course, this is finally the time where I announce the winners of the knit along. Thank you all so much for participating. It was such a fun knit along. I can't believe how many of you took part, and so many big things were done. So we had 224 entries in the chatter thread, and we had 4 people who participated in the who participated with not just 1 sweater but 2 sweater. Candace had a shawl and a sweater. Melody had a cardigan and a sweater. Vanessa had 2 sweaters, as well as Birgit. Altogether, we had 23 finished objects, and I have my little paper bits here. I will get the yarn so you know what you will win. So the winner of the finished objects thread will win the Dreamcatcher yarn in the Lila Lou Love colorway. And the winner of the chatter thread will win a skein of the Taos in the Beekeeper colorway. Taos is such a nice Corriedale, superwash Corriedale sock yarn, which is so fabulous and so nice when it gets washed. It gets all fuzzy and nice. Yeah, love it. And I hope you will equally love these. So first, let me draw the winner from the chatter thread. All right, generate a number between 2 and 225. There was one more entry last night. And the number is 154. Let's see who that is. Chatter thread. 154 was yours truly. Okay. Okay, this time it's 170. Let's see if that's me again. I was also quite active. Oh, yay! Number 170. So the winner is Sharon S.K. Hoyt. Sharon, please get in touch with me so I can send you your yarn. And for the winner of our other skein, the Lila Lou Love, Vanessa with your bear brick. Vanessa's Ravelry name is Le Petit. Congratulations, Vanessa. That's so awesome. She's one of those who had actually 2 entries. She finished 2 sweaters. The other one was her Yumi. How exciting. And you know what? I am just deciding I will pick another winner from the finished object thread because I'm the boss of my podcast and the boss of my giveaways. So I will send someone else a sock size project bag. Let's see who this is. And the winner is Antje Hasemaus 1973. Both our winners are from Germany. So Antje, I will send you a sock size project bag. And if you want to get in touch with me, I will need your address. I'm excited, you guys. Okay, so that was it. It's totally getting dark. I hope the picture quality is still okay. I had to take a break. First it was tech problems, but then also my sourdough bread called. I really had to get that going, mix up my dough that was ready to rise so I wouldn't have to bake it at midnight today. And yes, so I had so much fun talking to you again. I didn't even, I still have more to tell you, but I guess I'm going to save that up for the next episode. I am looking forward to that one, which is going to happen in December, the beginning of December. And the next one is going to be with everybody's favorite, with Oma. So I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. It was lovely, as always, to chat with you. Thank you for always getting in touch, for friending me, for sending messages, and for being awesome you. And until we see each other again, I wish you happy knitting. Bye-bye.